My dear friends, in the second episode of the fourth unit, we continue to study the legal terminology from the cases considered by the Court of Justice of the European Union. The source is the request for the preliminary ruling concerning the interpretation of the European Union law on the award of public contracts without initiating of a public tendering procedure, a so-called in-house award. The request was submitted in the dispute between Undis Servizi and the municipality of Sulmona, Italy, for the award of public contract for services by that municipality to Cogesa S.p.A. So let's get started. Check your pronunciation of the words and word combinations. Execution of works, supply of products, provision of services, enforce, case law, carry out, reciprocal, mandatory.
Once more, execution of works, supply of products, provision of services, enforce, case law, carry out, reciprocal, mandatory.
Repeat after the teacher. Execution of works, supply of products, provision of services, enforce, case law, carry out, reciprocal, mandatory.
Once more, execution of works, supply of products, provision of services, enforce, case law, carry out, reciprocal, mandatory.
Repeat and remember the translation. Execution of works,
Виконання робіт,
supply of products,
постачання продукції,
provision of services,
надання послуг,
enforce,
чинний діючий,
case law,
судовий прецедент, практика суду,
carry out,
проводити, виконувати,
reciprocal,
взаємний,
mandatory.
обов'язковий. Once more, execution of works,
Виконання робіт,
supply of products,
постачання продукції,
provision of services,
надання послуг,
enforce,
чинний діючий,
case law,
судовий прецедент, практика суду,
carry out,
проводити, виконувати,
reciprocal,
взаємний,
mandatory.
обов'язковий. Give your translation of the words. Execution of works,
Виконання робіт,
supply of products,
постачання продукції,
provision of services,
надання послуг,
enforce,
чинний, діючий,
case law,
судовий прецедент, практика суду,
carry out,
проводити, виконувати,
reciprocal,
взаємний,
mandatory.
обов'язковий. Once more, execution of works,
Виконання робіт,
supply of products,
постачання продукції,
provision of services,
надання послуг,
enforce,
чинний діючий,
case law,
судовий прецедент, судова практика,
carry out,
проводити, виконувати,
reciprocal,
Взаємний.
Mandatory.
Обов'язковий. Give your English translation of the words. Виконання робіт.
Execution of works.
Постачання продукції.
Supply of products.
Надання послуг.
Provision of services.
Чинний, діючий.
In force.
Судовий прецедент. Практика суду.
Case law.
Проводити і виконувати.
Carry out.
Взаємний.
Reciprocal.
Обов'язковий.
Mandatory. Once more. Виконання робіт.
Execution of works.
Постачання продукції.
Supply of products.
Надання послуг.
Provision of services.
Чинний діючий.
In force.
Судовий прецедент, практика суду.
Case law.
Проводити, виконувати.
Carry out.
Взаємний.
Reciprocal.
Обов'язковий.
Mandatory. And now you have 30 seconds to recall and put down the words you have just studied.
Execution of works. Supply of products. Provision of services. In force. Case law. Carry out. Reciprocal. Mandatory.
So, did you manage to recall all the words? Define the words and write the definitions in your notebooks. Here is a model for you. Execution means the carrying out of a plan, order, or course of action, or the carrying out of a sentence of death on a condemned person. Supply, provision, enforce, case law, carry out, reciprocal, mandatory. And now, my dear friends, will you please reread the case of Ondi Servizi against the Council of State of Italy and find the examples of the words in the sentences. You should also put them down in your notebooks.
Execution of works. Supply of products. Provision of services. In force. Case law. Carry out. Reciprocal. Mandatory.
Fill in the gaps in the sentences using the words from the list. Carries out, enforce, reciprocal, execution of works, supply of products, services, case law, mandatory.
Categorize the highlighted words by the parts of the speech. Produce as many parts of the speech as possible from the given words. Public contracts are contracts for pecuniary interest concluded in writing between one or more economic operators and one or more contracting authorities and having as their object the execution of works. The highlighted word is execution, which is a noun. Adjective is executive. To execute is a verb.
Define the parts of speech of the highlighted words and produce as many derivatives as possible. As regards the fixed-term management of a specific service or performance of a task, the state and regions may, in respect of those areas which come within their responsibility, provide for forms of mandatory agreements between local authorities subject to the establishment of standard rules. The highlighted word here is mandatory. Such agreements must set out the objectives, duration, forms of consultations between the contracting authorities, their financial relationships, and their reciprocal obligations and guarantees. The highlighted word here is reciprocal. Develop your own sentences with the words from the list and write them down in your notebooks. Execution of works, supply of products, provision of services, enforce, case law, carry out, reciprocal, mandatory. Through a number of rulings, the Court of Justice has helped to ensure the right of the students to travel and study throughout the European Union. The following video explains some of the most important decisions in the field, where the students' rights to travel and study are delicately balanced with the legitimate interests of the countries to manage their finances. So follow the course and be confident in legal English.
The EU not only allows, but through various programs such as Erasmus, also encourages students to make the most of their right to travel and study within the EU. But sometimes national rules make this difficult or less financially attractive. In a series of cases, the Court of Justice has been asked to decide whether such rules are allowed under EU law. In 2004 and 2005, the court ruled that Belgium and Austria were discriminating against foreign students wishing to access higher education by imposing extra entrance criteria on those with secondary education diplomas from other EU countries. Balancing the rights of students with the legitimate interest of countries to manage their finances led the court to decide that a student loan or grant could not be automatically refused to foreign students, but that it was legal to only give loans or grants to students who were integrated into that country. For example, by requiring that they be resident in that country for 5 years before starting their course. In cases involving the children of cross-border workers, the court ruled that a country could not systematically refuse a grant to the children of those workers on the basis they didn't reside in that country. It was sufficient that a parent had worked in that country and achieved a certain level of integration over a significant period. Through these and other cases, the court has ensured that students' rights to move and study across the EU can be fully enjoyed.